7:01 p.m. Call this meeting to order. City of Somerton regular council meeting. Can we please stand for the pledge of allegiance? Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mayor Gerardo Anaya,
Present.
Vice Mayor Martha Garcia, Councilman Miguel Villalpando,
Present.
Councilman Carlos Gonzalez,
Present.
Councilman Luis Galindo,
Present.
Councilman Jesus Rodan,
Present.
and Councilman Juan Castillo.
Councilmember Castillo is asked to be excused. He's attending the school board conference in Phoenix.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. So I want to welcome one more council member, who's a mayor, vice mayor, Little Magaña.
Thank you, Mayor.
Moving on, call to the public.
I'd like to step down.
Good evening. A few weeks ago, the mayor and myself and other staff members from the River Somerton, we attended Arizona League of Cities. And while we were there, during one of the lunches, there was a work session where there was an award luncheon for people that have been there for many years serving the community. Unfortunately, Councilman Galindo wasn't able to attend, and I was lucky enough to go get his award. So I would like to ask the mayor and the rest of the council to step down so we can present the award to Councilman Galindo.
12 years of service, dedication to strong, effective local government in Arizona. Ms. Galindo.
Maybe 12 more. Well, I just want to thank the community because I guess they have trusted me this 12 years, and you know, everything I do is first the community. It's not in what it's in my what I want. It's always what the community needs, the needs of the community, and I think it's not only me, it's all of us that are up here. This is what we're here. You know, we're thinking first. We put you guys first before we put ourselves. You know, what we benefit. We're always looking for things to better our community, and I think, and in the last 12 years, we can see a lot of improvement. It's not just because of me, like Mayor Anaya said. I hear ex-council member Magaña was here, and he a lot of great ideas, and then you know we just keep rolling the ball of those ideas. And thank you, everybody, and I hope I can get your vote this next time.
Call to the public.
So you want what?
Thank you.
Anybody else from the public?
Hello, Council. My name is David Murray. I come to speak to you today as a concerned citizen and business owner. Over the last few months, we have been working on opening a brand new business here. I went to the city with my new shop location and asked what I need to do to get my business license for that location. I was told to fill out a packet with info, tax ID number. I did that, turned it in. I was told to pay a fee of $130 for the license and the inspectors. I was told all I had to do was wait for the calls from the two inspectors to set up appointments. After that, I would receive my license. I then proceeded to sign a new one-year lease for $650 a month. We got to work on the new location, put in thousands of dollars. New paint, new lights, new light fixtures, new glass for the windows, new tint, new cabinets and security. We have been waiting for calls from the city or one of the inspectors for almost 3 months. No one reached out at all. Today we went to City Hall and they said we got denied because of zoning. First off, we were never told anything about zoning. Second, if zoning was an issue, and the city hall employee should have told us in the beginning that our business would not be allowed before we signed a lease. We have now spent close to $9,000 on this new spot and are truly disappointed in the way the city handled this situation. We have already hired 6 Somerton locals for this new location. They will now be without a job. We will also be moving our other businesses out of Somerton over the next few months, leaving those employees out of work also. We wanted to be a location here for many, many years and help Somerton reach its full potential. We were in huge support of the Shop Local campaign and spending all money locally. We are going to give a place for local artists to sell their artwork and merchandise to bring more income and a better economy to Somerton. I just want an equal fair opportunity here. I was hoping we could get this situated. Unfortunately, it is not looking that way. If we can, great. If not, we will just take our businesses elsewhere. Thank you for your time.
Mr. McGahey, look into it. Sir. Thank you. Anybody else from the public? Okay, moving on to consent agenda. Item number 1, minutes from work session of August 6, 2019. Item number 2, minutes for regular council meeting of August 6, 2019. Item number 3, request to award the 2020 general plan update project to Michael Baker International Consulting Firm. Item number 4, vote to accept amendment to intergovernmental agreement for building safety services between City of San Luis and Cocopa Indian Housing and Development. Any member of council wishes to remove an item from consent agenda? Is there a motion? Motion by Councilman Gonzalez. Second by Councilman Galindo. Those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Moving on, public hearing to present the infrastructure improvement plan and development in draft.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. The item before you is the public hearing to present the infrastructure
I'm sorry,
improvement.
Mayor, let me stop you. We need a vote to convene the public hearing.
Is there a motion to go to the public hearing? So motion by Vice Mayor Garcia, second by Councilmember Rodan. Those in favor? Aye. Okay.
Thank you. The item before you is the presentation for the infrastructure improvement plan and development fee report for water and parks impact fees. Here with us is Ben Griffin from T-Shirt Vice, which is our consultant. We're going to give you a presentation of the draft and then be open to the public in discussion.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, it's good to be back in Somerton. Were all of you here last time I presented? I think you were.
Well, we were supposed to, but if it was a work session, probably not.
Okay. So the first several slides are basically impact fee basics. So you've mostly heard this, so I'm going to move through those quickly and get on to the land use assumptions and IIP, which is really what we're here to talk about tonight. So just a quick refresher on Arizona legislation. With development fees, you have 3 documents that are required by Arizona. The first is the land use assumptions document. So it is about 10 to 15 years of projections of existing and then projected development. The next is the infrastructure improvements plan, which is essentially just a list of projects. And then the development fees, that's the final component, which is actually just a report that shows the fees. So those are the 3 that we're going to look at over the next several months. Tonight we're talking about land use assumptions and IIP. So with impact fees, one of the most important things is you get to define the level of service. So you can't charge future development for a higher level of service than existing development receives. So that's one thing to be thinking of as we move through this. And then just another quick refresher. when the law changed in 2012, it limited things like parks, so you couldn't include parks greater than 30 acres. You couldn't include libraries with more than 10,000 square feet. You couldn't include regional training facilities for public safety. So there are just limitations placed on impact fees in the newer legislation. So essentially we see this as two rounds. The first is, it's concerned with the land use assumptions in the IIP. So tonight, this is the public hearing for those two. 30 days from now, you can actually vote to adopt the land use assumptions in IIP if you wish. Then 30 days after that, you can have a public hearing on the actual development fees. 30 days after that, you can vote to adopt them. And then 75 days after that, the fees would go into effect. So tonight we're just looking at round one, the land use assumptions in IIP. So I'm going to sort of move quickly. Things to remember, you can include certain things, you can't include others. So if you need the facility or the improvement to serve new development, you can include it. If it's maintenance or repair or, I say rehab, repair, replacement, all those are excluded. Because it's fixing an existing deficiency, and you can't charge impact fees based on that. If you have excess capacity, you could use impact fees to buy into that excess capacity. And what I just touched on, the improvements required to correct an existing deficiency. Most of the time, you can't include that. But if you do identify a specific funding plan where you say, hey, we're going to take this general fund money, or we're going to take this grant money, and we're going to raise our existing level of service, then you can charge impact fees based on that higher level of service. But you have to make sure that you're charging future development for the same level of service that existing development receives. So, a lot of cities say, hey, you know what, we might not want to do that. And so there are options on, which methodology we can use. So the first we call a buy-in approach or a cost recovery approach. Basically says, hey, we've got this infrastructure today. There's excess capacity in it. We want future development to buy into that. The next, the incremental expansion approach, that says we're happy with where we are today. We want to maintain that going forward. So we want to maintain the number of, acres of parks per person, or the number of linear feet of collection lines, for wastewater. And then finally, the third approach is the plan-based approach, where you say, hey, we want to get to this, we want to get to this level of service. How do we do that? And a lot of times we'll look at your CIP or a master plan and say, well, this is where the community wants to be. How do we get there? And so basically we would identify existing development share. We would say this is new development share, and figure out what the fee would be to get you there. Credits, there are essentially three kinds. There's site-specific, where maybe a developer donates 5 acres of parkland as part of the development. Well, if you include parkland in your fee, then you would want to make sure you don't charge the developer for those 5 acres. So that's site specific. The next is debt service. So if you issue debt, some sort of future bond, you would need to do a credit so the future fee payer isn't paying twice. And the last is dedicated revenue, so property tax, sales tax, gas tax, anything that's going to be generated by future development that would go to a project that they're paying for through their impact fees, you would need to do a credit. We've looked at all these. It's not going to be an issue in Somerton. So the land use assumptions. This is a 15-year projection. So what we did is we took the Arizona Office of Economic Opportunity, their 2017 population estimate, and then we looked at their, basically they have projections through 2040, and so we just used that. It's a state adopted number, so we use that for the residential projections. For the non-residential projections, we looked at Esri Business Analyst, and it said how many jobs you have. We broke that into different land uses, so industrial, commercial, institutional, an office. And then based on recent trends, we projected that out. And so we're saying over the next 15 years, you could expect a population increase of about 7,200 people. And that translates into a little over 2,000 additional housing units. And then in the same time period, 914 additional jobs, which translates into about 590,000 square feet of non-residential floor area. So are there any questions on that? Okay. So moving on. With this update, we're looking at parks and water. We're not looking at your public safety, wastewater, or what's your third fee? Sorry, I was just looking at everything with Somerton or San Luis, so I could make sure to have this for you. Yes, we did not mess with your public safety or streets fees with the non-utility side. We're just looking at parks for your non-utility fees. So we're looking at three components. The first is park improvements, so the actual improvements in your parks. And with discussions with staff, we said, hey, it's best to say this is how many we have, and we want to maintain that going forward. So that's we're using an incremental approach there. With park land, you acquired parkland in 2017, and basically we're going to have future development pay into that excess capacity, so they'll help pay off some of that cost. And then the final component is the park share, the development fee report. So basically they pay for the actual fee study. That way the city's not having to pay for it. So we break this out. So in Arizona, the law says that if you charge a fee to one type of development, you have to charge it to all types of development. So with parks, mostly residential is going to be using this, but we do have to charge non-residential at least a small share based on the state legislation. So we looked essentially at your daytime population and said, all right, well, you have this many residents and you have this many inflow commuters, and that's how we split up demand for parks from existing development. And so we're saying residential demands 92% of your parks, non-residential requires 8%. So moving on to park improvements, we're saying that you have about 31 acres of park improvements, and based on the cost per acre that we used in UMA's update last year, it was about $163,000 per acre, which is pretty much what we're seeing in most parts of Arizona. And so basically what we're doing in this is saying if we want to maintain that number of improved acres per person or per job, then for every additional person who moves to Somerton, we should charge a fee to purchase that increment of an acre. And for every additional job, charge a fee for that additional increment of an acre. And so what this is saying is that every additional person, we should charge about $270 to acquire, or basically to make additional park improvements. And every additional job, about $184. So any questions on that? All right, so if you want to maintain your current level of service, over the next 10 years, you would need to acquire a little over 8 acres, which would cost about $1.4 million, and your fees generated over that time would take care of all of that. One of the nice things about an incremental expansion approach is if you grow faster, then you generate more fee revenues, so you can acquire or you can make more park improvements. If you don't grow as quickly as we project, then you don't generate as much revenue and you don't need to make those improvements. So it's more flexible with regard to the development cycle. So any questions with park improvements? Okay. Next up, park land. So this is the land purchased in 2017, and we basically spread the cost over all development. And with this, we're saying, every additional person should pay about $85 for their share of that, and every additional job would be about $58 for their share of that. Any questions with the park land? Okay. So the proposed park fee, a single-family unit, the fee would be $1,323. So we get that by taking the total cost per person, which is $360.63, and multiplying it by the average persons per housing unit. So for single-family units, you average about 3.67 persons per housing unit. So it's just 360.63 times 3.67 is 1323. With non-residential, it's similar. You take the cost per job of $246.03, and you multiply it by the number of jobs per 1,000 square feet. So for industrial development, you have fewer than one job per 1,000 square feet. So to get that industrial fee of $225, you multiply $246.03 by 0.92 jobs per 1,000 square feet. So any questions with parks? Okay. All right, next up we have water. So with water, we have storage, treatment, wells, pumps, and distribution lines. So the big difference from the last time I was out here is the distribution lines. We discussed this in that council work session, went back and looked at the master plan, and as a way to essentially fill out the distribution grid and open up more developable land, we added in the distribution lines. So whereas parks, we used persons or jobs as the cost driver, with water we're going to use gallons. And so we looked at max day gallons. Since you're sizing your water infrastructure to max day demand, we use max day demand as our basis. And so the average residential customer uses 503 gallons per max day. And so the base meter size assumes that it's an average single-family dwelling. So single-family, or your smallest meter size, which is a 3/4 inch meter, they're basically the same thing, and I went way off. Sorry about that. All right, with non-residential development, again, we're looking at your max day, and so the average non-residential user uses about 1,000 gallons per day. So we take those max day factors and we apply those to the development projections that I showed you several slides back. And so we're saying over the next 15 years, you would your future development would demand an additional 1.4 million gallons per day. And so what we're saying is how do we allocate the cost for required infrastructure to future development? So this is a list of projects that you would need. These are identified in the master plan. So for the storage component, there is a 1.25 MGD tank. So the cost of that is $920,000. It adds 1.25 million gallons of capacity. So we just take the cost and divide it by the capacity and get a cost per gallon of capacity of 74 cents. So every gallon that someone demands, you should charge them 74 cents for their share of storage. Next is treatment. So there is there's a treatment plant, and the cost is $2.875 million. We divide that by the capacity added by this treatment plant, and so for treatment you should charge $1.33 per gallon. You're looking at well number 5. Again, it's cost divided by capacity. Same with pump. Really, the new thing that you want to focus on is in the bottom right corner, the distribution lines. So this is looking at the existing 10-inch distribution lines. So you have a little over 33,000 linear feet of 10-inch distribution lines today, and you want to maintain that going forward. And essentially what this is going to do is generate money so you can fill out that grid of distribution lines. So the average cost per linear foot is $118 for those 10-inch lines. And so all we're doing is saying, you have this many linear feet per gallon today, so going forward you should charge $1.96 per gallon demanded. So it's a lot of numbers. They all roll into this, and this is a lot easier for me to explain. So at the top, you have the base single-family demand of 503 gallons per day. You multiply that by the total capital cost per gallon. So all those components from the previous slide add up to $4.52 per gallon. So 503 gallons times $4.52 per gallon means the average single-family dwelling should pay $2,274 for water, which is actually a decrease of $124 compared to your old fees. So if you remember in 2012, when the new law went into effect, everyone started to do their update, and at that time I believe you didn't have an up-to-date water master plan, so you didn't have any projects that were identified, so you didn't charge a water impact fee. If you compared this to where you were before you discontinued your fee, it's actually a decrease of $124. So again, I said a single family dwelling is the same as a 3/4 inch meter. So for every meter or the meters that are larger than 3/4, we just apply a capacity ratio, and that's from the American Water Works Association. And essentially what it's saying is that each meter that's larger than 3/4 of an inch can take an increment of extra water compared to that smallest meter. And so it's just saying, hey, this 1-inch meter, it can take 1.67 times the amount of water that a 3/4 inch meter can take. And so all we're doing is saying gallons times cost times that capacity ratio. So that's how we're getting the 1-inch fee of $3,798. So any questions on the water fees? All right. So here's a fee summary on your non-utility fees. So again, it was just the parks fee that was updated. So the top, that's what your fees would be if adopted. So the average single-family dwelling, you would charge $3,121. Today, the single-family dwelling is paying $2,522. So it's an increase of $599 for the non-utility components. As a reference, Somerton, San Luis is taking their fees for adoption on October 1st or 2nd, and their non-utility fee for a single-family dwelling is $3,778. So you're about $600 less on the non-utility side compared to what San Luis expects to adopt. Any questions on the non-utility? Okay. So for utility, again, we were just updating the water, didn't mess with wastewater. So the 3/4 inch meter or a single family meter, you would pay $6,015. And again, to compare that to San Luis, their proposed fee is about $1,500. But they have a more robust water and sewer infrastructure that exists today. Their fee last time was higher. Their fees are actually, the water and sewer fees are going down this time because they don't need to build as much infrastructure because they built more in the last update cycle. So any questions with utilities? Okay, so remember, today is the public hearing for the land use assumptions IIP. nothing gets adopted today. If you desire in 30 days, you can adopt these. Then essentially the next day you would advertise the development fees, which are also part of the report that you've been provided. Then November 19th, you could have your first public hearing on the development fees. January 7th, you could adopt those, and then March 23rd, they would become effective if everything went smoothly. So do you have any questions on adoption, any of the methodologies?
Any questions?
And it's just a comment, comparable to other cities, and, I think that we should keep in mind, we need, the need for infrastructure is there, but we also have to see a great increase, being that we haven't had any impact fees for seven years. It's just a concern that I have, the amounts, but just wanted to make that comment that it does worry me that we'll scare off developers instead of.
Sam, how many linear feet of this line are we looking at for water
For future,
for future? Yeah.
we have the
It's during a 10-year period, correct?
yeah, we have the a grid that it shows where we need to extend the lines. For example, along the main drain on the west side, to La Mesa, along County 16, Avenue B, Avenue D, County 15. Those are the grid that we are proposing.
And if you have the report, it's page 34, so it's all the red. That would be the extension.
So another question, and maybe it's for you, Sam, where it's for economic development, all these improvements that you guys are looking at doing around the Mesa area. It's substantial work, but how realistic is it for businesses that we may each have been marketing out that area? And at this point in time, it calls and justifies us looking at these water impact fees the way we are. Because it's one thing planning ahead, but we have a time frame that we need to spend these funds, correct?
Yeah, you have 15 years on the utilities and 10 years on the non-utilities.
Okay, so 10 years on the non?
Yes.
So are we gonna show movement up there within that time frame?
Well, for sure.
That's my concern on top of what Vice Mayor said, is the fact that we might price ourselves out of the market. Our housing stock is kind of low, and we're probably going to scare those potential developers away. That's my only concern. That's what I'm trying to get a better grasp for my decision.
Well, for sure we have, or we know that we have some businesses interested in La Mesa, basically east of Avenue B and south of County 16. So we have also, if we extend the line along Main Street, we open all that area north of Main Street, and south just on the JEPCO portion, because we don't have the annexation yet on that portion, but at least on the north side, from the main drain all the way to Avenue G and a half, or H and a half, we open that land if we are planning to extend that line. So it's a possibility to extend that portion and open for all that future, residential or commercial.
On the residential side, how much of the cost is provided by the developer, as they develop their site, how much of this infrastructure are they gonna put in? As far as are they responsible to put in like part of the 10-inch line?
Depends on the location. If it's on the grid, they will. If not, it's just a distribution system.
On the water treatment plant number 3, where would that go? What kicks in then?
That is the future plan number 3. We already have 2 plants now and 2 tanks. We need the tank number 3.
So it would be at the same location?
Exactly. That's what my master plan said.
And what population kicks that?
On the treatment plant, $23,000.
So we're averaging what, 150? What's our average on new residences a year?
For residents per year, do you have residences per year
New,
or new development?
Well, if we have lot stacks, it will be probably about 100 lots per year, and permits per year. Right now, because we're low, we're expecting about 50.
Last year was 110.
It's about 110, 115 when we have stack.
so we're about 4,000 plus or minus on having a plan.
And just to remind you, Mr. Mayor and Council, we have the census count coming up next year, so we're gonna have official numbers by November of next year. December.
I think I share the same concerns that maybe, if we can have realistic plans. I'm always concerned of just putting infrastructure and hoping that development comes and like like the other council members say that we increase it so much that we inflate the market and we have realistically within 15 years that we can build all that. So maybe you can see at a future meeting the master plan and a more in-depth look at the master plan. And I ask staff to look into it and make sure that it is realistic and that we actually have a plan, how moving forward, with projections and having a 10-year CIP and at least ballpark approach, because this is it will have an impact and I understand that there is a need for new infrastructure, but and it's either where we're going to get the funding. It's either impact fees, new development pays for new development, but I want it to be realistic and we're going to have to bond and construct. So maybe we can look at it more, like it's more in depth, and make sure that we adjust these things, that we do have a plan moving forward. We've been been averaging, what, 100 homes, or maybe 150 if we, in a perfect world, and you know, maybe we'll be 18,000 with the 19,000 with the new census of that. That'll take more than 10 years to fill those residences. So
Oh, I just want to add something. This is based off, for example, the next future project will be the tank number 3, and it shows when we reach the population of 19,000. So currently, our population, the average is, the approximately number is 17,000. So we know for sure, last week we have maxed out in capacity in the water production. We are producing 2 million gallons per day last week. So basically what happened is the plant is maxed out now, and we have 17,000.
And that's a perfect example of a realistic project that's something that can be justifiable when there's new development here.
Just I want to bring it in because we have Lewis here with us, and we are dealing with this issue. And now last week was, we're fine, but at least I just want to bring it in that we are maxed out, basically.
Any questions, comments? Anybody from the public?
Good evening. My name is Thomas Ryan. I'm the Executive Director of Housing America. In my conversations with city staff over the last couple of months, we've been looking at this too. And it's my understanding that should the city decide to adopt most of what's being presented today, we would be adding a $2,347 new water impact fee to the building permit. In addition, the Parks and Rec impact fee would be going, it's $724 now, we would be adding $599. So essentially, you're looking at adding approximately $3,000 to the current building permit. As you can imagine, that pretty much leaves self-help completely out of the city of Somerton. It is true that our families work with the same mortgage product that other developers have, but they borrow a lot less. And they make up the difference working on the weekends. That's my comment. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Mayor and Council, Agustin Tumbaga, 235 West Main Street. Just a couple questions. You guys did show that timeline, if it was approved and when it would happen. It's showing March 2020 or something like that. It's magically going to come up right now. Sometime. Is there, and the reason I ask is because we should have about 60 to 80 homes being built in the next 12 months. And because of how we sell the homes, we need to know what the prices, of course, of what we're going to pay for our fees. Is there anything that will change that timeline, that reduces the time?
Not to reduce it, Mayor. I think that's, in the perfect world, that's, if anything, there's going to be more time.
Okay. And just to inform you, because there was a comment that was made before this meeting, that any fee that gets increased, as you mentioned all, is that we pass it on to our clients. I mean, we don't really absorb it. We already know what we're dealing with. We're already dealing with increases of material because some of these tariffs and stuff that's going on. And it's not dollar for dollar. So if you guys were to increase, like Housing America was saying, if you increase $3,000, literally comes out to about another 30% on our part, because there's fees that we have to pay on top of that. We have to pay the sales tax, our workman's comp, liabilities, because they all go off of the prices that we sell. Currently, we are lucky that people want to come into town because of the prices that we're keeping low. And to me, low isn't what it used to be. Our least, the most affordable home that we're building in our subdivision is $165,000. That same home less than a year ago was probably going at $120,000, $130,000. So the increases in the requirements from the city from in regards to tile roof, block wall, AC inside on the bottom, not on the top, landscaping and so on, has added a lot of money into it. So if this fee is added, then we understand what the city needs to do, but it will reduce and slow down construction, because there is the prices in the homes that we're building here in San Luis. I love the comparisons to San Luis, but the same house I'm building for 165 and selling here for 165, in San Luis I sell for 145. So you could say whatever you want to say about the permits and so forth, and over there I put one up and it's sold quick. Here, we still deal with a long lag of home sales. But and also, I think the mayor had mentioned it, or the vice mayor had mentioned it, with the increase at least for the sewer system. I mean, if you do the numbers, even if you have to spend the money in 10 years and you're only building 100 homes a year, the capacity on the sewer is still there. So that one doesn't make sense to increase. In regards to water, if you do select, of course, the coolest month, which we just passed, of course, everybody's using a lot more water. I think one of the biggest things that should be looked at is water conservation. We're pushing that more in regards to, in the homes, helping the homes that are being rehabbed. And not that we want to pay more, but even on the new homes, we're trying to find ways to do water conservation. But on our part, it's kind of hard to say, because I love the city and I know you guys need the funds, but you're caught in the middle, because if you increase, it's exactly what you said, developers are going to go elsewhere. And right now, to be able to get the big businesses that everybody wants here in town, they need houses, they need roofs. And not a lot of businesses are going to come into town if they know they can build the same house off of 8th Street and Avenue C and pay less up there compared to here, just because the services are provided. Thank you.
Anybody else from the public? Council members, questions, comments? Is there a motion to exit public hearing? So motion by Vice Mayor Garcia. Second by Councilman Gonzalez, all in favor? Any opposed? Moving on to new business. Claim September 2019 as library card sign-up.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, the Yuma County Library District will be joining with libraries across the nation to participate in Library Card Sign-Up Month during the month of September. Observed since 1987, Library Card Sign-Up Month is a time when the American Library Association and libraries across the country remind parents that a library card is the most important school supply of all. Studies show that children who are read to in the home, who use the library, perform better in school and are more likely to continue to use the library as a source of lifelong learning. We are joined by Sarah Wisdom, the Community Relations Manager of the Yuma County Library District today, and the council is asked to approve the proclamation.
Is there a motion to approve proclamation? Second by Vice Mayor Garcia, second by Councilman Rodan, all in favor? Opposed?
Ms. Wisdom, if you would like to say a couple of words.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I just want to say thank you so much for your continued support of our Yuma County Library District. And just to let you know, we've just launched an app for our library. It's free to download. It's available on Google Play and the Apple App Store. And it's basically a mobile-friendly version of our website. It makes a lot of our digital resources more accessible, ebooks, e-audio books, and a lot of our research reference sources. So we're hoping to make the library that much more accessible for people, because we know everybody's on their phones these days. Thank you.
Proclamation. Whereas a library card is the most important school supply of all, whereas signing up for a library card is the first step towards academic achievement and lifelong learning, whereas libraries play an important role in the education and development of children, whereas library programs serve students of all ages from early literacy to homework help to GED classes. of Somerton proclaims September library card signing month in the city of Somerton, Arizona, and encourage everyone to sign up for the new library card ticket. Here's the proclamation we signed. Moving on to item number 2, we're gonna have 3 proclamations. So September, we're gonna be, water tower is gonna be changing colors. Proclaim September 17th, 2019 as Citizenship Day in the city of Somerton.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, for the past 40 years, Chicanos por la Causa has been providing citizenship services to the Somerton community to honor their work and the contributions of immigrants to our community and to our country. This proclamation names September 17th, 2019 as Citizenship Day in the city of Somerton. We're joined by Arturo Magana, the Executive Director, Chicanos por la Causa today, and thank you for being here, sir.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Honorable Mayor and Council. Thank you for the kind words earlier this evening. Thank you, Ian. Anna, I've been charged to take over the tradition that Ramona left after having opened the office back in 1978 and having worked with the community, mainly Somerton, even though we do some work in San Luis and Yuma. And after 23 years, having been the operations manager for Head Start, I've been transitioned myself to immigration. We see approximately 600 clients that walk in the door every month. About a third of them are seeking information and support in filling out applications for citizenship. So we understand the importance in these times, in these political times, about the importance of becoming citizens and eventually becoming voters. And we are promoting that as well. Recently, to honor the Citizenship Day, we just held 2 citizenship fairs, one in Tucson 1 weekend ago, and another one in San Luis last Saturday, where Vice Mayor assisted us in filling out applications. Thank you so much. Altogether, we were able to see approximately 130. Out of those, about 2/3 were able to complete their citizenship application. So that's the work that we do, and we hope to be here another 20, 30, 40 years. Thank you so much.
Motion to proclaim September 17, 2019 as Citizenship Day. Motion by Councilman Galindo.
Second.
Second by Councilman Gonzalez. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Whereas September 17th is recognized nationally as Citizenship Day, and whereas on this day we celebrate the efforts and contributions to our community by immigrants have become U.S. citizens, whereas by helping and encouraging immigrants to become naturalized citizens, their families have more options for reuniting across borders or for helping keep them together in the U.S. Whereas by helping and encouraging immigrants to become naturalized citizens, we can empower families in the Somerton community to participate in civic activities and continue promoting a democratic environment. Now therefore, I, Gerardo Naya, Mayor of the City of Somerton, do hereby proclaim September 17, 2019 as Citizenship Day in the City of Somerton, and urge all citizens to join me in recognizing the many contributions of immigrants who have become U.S. citizens in our community. Item number 3, proclaim September 15th, October 15, 2019 as Hispanic Heritage Month.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Hispanic Heritage Month takes place September 15th through October 15th every year as a time to recognize the many contributions of the American Latino community. The month is celebrated nationwide with festivals, art shows, conferences, community gatherings, and much more. The council is asked to proclaim September 15th through October 15th as Hispanic Heritage Month.
Motion. Motion by Vice Mayor Garcia. Second. Second by Councilman Gonzalez. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Hispanic Heritage Month proclamation. Whereas Hispanic Heritage Month, we honor all American citizens of Hispanic descent and celebrate their rich and vibrant traditions of faith, family, and I would think it's hard work and patriotism instead of hand. Whereas Hispanic Americans help reinforce our relationship with our Latin American neighbors as we work to bolster liberty in the region and achieve free and fair trade with our regional partners. Whereas Hispanic Americans have played a pivotal role in our country's strength and prosperity. Their spirit, energy, and leadership are woven into the culture of America and enrich all our lives. Now therefore, I, Mayor Gerardo Naya of City of Somerton, hereby proclaim September 15th to October 15th as Hispanic Heritage Month. The City of Somerton as a time to recognize and celebrate the many contributions, diverse cultures, and extensive histories of the American Latino community. Item number 4, approval of resolution number 2019-018 declaring as a public record documents entitled Adopted Construction Codes of the City of Somerton, including appendices and certain amendments.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. In preparation for the potential approval of an ordinance adopting newer construction codes, staff is requesting Council's approval of resolution number 2019-018 declaring as a public record those documents entitled Adopted Construction Codes, including appendices and certain amendments of the City of Somerton. Copies of these codes are available already at the Office of the City Clerk for public view and also at the Community Development Department front desk. By adopting this resolution, the city would not be required to publish all the documents that would normally be attached to the ordinance. We have 11 codes that are being potentially adopted, and we have 11 sets of amendments to the codes, to those codes. So if we were to not approve this resolution, we are required to pass to publish the ordinance with all those attachments. So this is the reason of this resolution approval request that we have before you tonight. Any questions?
I don't know if it was mentioned in the previous meeting or not, or maybe it was just me. The developers, I guess, that have already submitted their plans for review, those are good to go because they were previously approved, or would they have to come before you for another reading, additional cost?
For the construction plans that are already submitted and approved, those are going to stay as until the time of the new effective date of the new codes are available. That is going to come in the ordinance. If you were to approve the resolution, then we have an ordinance right after that. The ordinance basically will set an effective date for the new codes to be effective, meaning that everything that is submitted after the effective date of the new codes will have to abide to the new regulations of the codes that are being adopted.
Now,
As of now, yes.
Any questions or comments? Is there a motion to approve resolution 2019-018? Motion by Councilman Gonzalez. Second by Councilman Rodon. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Item number 5, first reading by title only of ordinance number 2019-002.
So, Mr. Mayor and Council, this is basically the last step in the review process of the newer codes. As you are aware, we started the review of the 11 proposed codes that are already adopted by the City of Yuma, Yuma County, City of San Luis, and hopefully pretty soon it's going to be adopted by Town of Walton as well. We did the review. We completed 10 board meetings, 2 public meetings, 1 work session with City Council, and also the codes have been available for review at the front desk of Community Development. We have had some people coming in and inquiring about the changes that we are proposing. In front of you tonight, we have an ordinance that if it's approved tonight, the first reading would approve the adoption of the 11 newer construction codes. We are also proposing the date, the effective date. This is what, in reference to your question, Vice Mayor Garcia, the effective date that we are proposing to be, for those codes to be, to become effective would be December 17, 2019. So if you don't have any questions for me, I would like to ask for a approval of the first reading of ordinance 2019-002.
Questions, comments? Motion to approve ordinance 2019-002. Motion by Councilman Gonzalez. Second by Councilman Galindo. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Ordinance number 2019-002, an ordinance of the mayor and city council of the city of Somerton, Arizona, repealing Article 711 and Article 717 and adding a new Article 711, building reference codes, and new Article 717, permits to the Somerton City Code, and setting December 17, 2019 as the effective date. Need a motion to approve that?
Is there a motion to approve ordinance 2019-002? So moved. Second. Motion by Councilman Gonzalez, second by Councilman Montan. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Thank you.
Item number 6, Public Works Department is representing the pavement preservation.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. The item before you is a presentation of our pavement preservation program. This is a brief presentation to our street preservation that we have here in the city. This is the pavement condition index, PCI chart. The PCI is basically the tool that we use to measure and identify the pavement conditions. Depending on the value of the PCI is a type of treatment that is applied, basically. From 100 to 70, PCI is a very good conditions. From 70 to 50, PCI is a good conditions. From 50 to 25, PCI is a poor conditions, and 25 to 0 is basically a very poor conditions. Now keep in mind that this is only the asphalt conditions of the road. We're not including drainage, we're not including sidewalk, no sidewalk, curb and gutter. So it's just basically the asphalt conditions of the road. The type of pavement preservation basically are 4. One is the crack seal. This is typically every 3 to 5 years, depending on the conditions. The Fox seal, the OptiPave, and HA5, which is a high density mineral bond preservation, is the same thing, basically from between 3 to 5 years of life of the new pavement. You can see this is pictures that we just, from the recent projects, the last 2-3 months. The crack seal, the OptiPave, and the HA5. Another pavement preservation is the slurry seal that increased from between 5 to 7 years, and the chip seal is most likely used in our rural roads such as County 15, County 17, Avenue D, Avenue B, County 16. Those are roads that are in our city limits, but in the rural areas. Now, the existing conditions of our system, basically from the 100 to 70 PCI is a very good. We have a 57% of our system in that category. Between 70 to 50, which is the good conditions, is 24. So if we add those two, it's basically 80% of our road system, which is basically in very good or good conditions overall. Between 50 and 25, the poor condition, we have 15%, and 25 to 0 is in poor conditions. So I'm going to be showing you the maps on the, first of all, the north side, where it basically shows the conditions. The green is the 100 to 70 PCI, which is a very good conditions, and the yellow is between 70 to 50 PCI, which is in good conditions. Those two, as you can see, those are the road segments that are pretty much in good conditions. As you can see, is most likely most of all the north area are in very good shape. The only two segments is the Cesar Chavez between Main Street to almost Fulton. As you know, we have the design ready for this project, and it's going to be reconstructed this coming year, which is going to include the traffic signal on Main Street and Cesar Chavez. And the next one in red is the Fulton between Somerton Avenue and Council between Fulton and Canal. Same thing, that design is ready to go. We applied for the SSP CDBG grant. Unfortunately, we received a letter last week that our project was not selected. Was ranking number 9, and they choose the 8 first project. This is due to the funding. The good thing is that the application was submitted perfectly, no mistakes, no errors. Basically, was the ranking from the state. That's why we don't get selected. But also in the letter says that if funds are available, our project is the next one to be funded. So it's not too bad news. The next one is the south map. As you can see, the same as the north side. Most of the south side is in green. We have several areas on the 50 to 25 PSI, which is in poor conditions. That area that is in between Somerton Avenue going west to Union and north of Garvin, which is Zocalo Gardens, that project is going to be constructed this coming year. Is basically the CDBG RA project. In that particular area, we're going to replace the water line and all the asphalt on that segment. Also, we are finally have the payment management system that we just recently acquired software that is going to helping us to keep track of the maintenance and the cost for our road system. So this software is going to help us a lot to keep track on the maintenance and the cost for future improvements. And at this point, I'm open to any questions you may have.
Sam, now that you're talking about the preservation program, where do the alleyways fit in here?
The alleys?
The alleys.
First, on the alleys, we have an issue with the water and the sewer. That's why, we are not thinking for now to apply pavement on the alleys, because first of all, we have clay pipes on the sewer that we need to replace. We have infiltration issues. For now, our plan is just to put some millings and have a dust control. My plan is to first have 100% of all roads be with decent asphalt conditions, and also with sidewalks, curb and gutter, and drainage. Then, if the funds are available, we can move up to the alleys. But first of all, we need to replace the collection lines.
Yeah, and I'm not talking about pavement. So I know that several years back, you put some milling in the alleys, especially the main alleys. When we close Main Street, most of the traffic goes to the main alleys. That's north and south. But what I'm saying is, since we put the milling in there about 3, 4, 5 years ago, there has not been any, anything else besides that, so it's wearing out, like it's become to be dirt again. Is there anything we can do about those alleys?
At this point, we just maintenance, keep adding millings or AVC.
Or watering?
Exactly.
You could just send us a copy of.
Sure.
Sam, the HERF funding, is it enough to keep the cycle on the maintenance program?
For now, it's barely. We need more funds, that's for sure. I mean, if we, the key here is to be more proactive on the scheduling, the maintenance, and if we can reduce from 5 to 3 years, for example, on the OptiPay or on the Foxhill or the HA5, I mean, we need funds, of course. The key here is to apply those seals in the correct time in order to extend the life of the asphalt. So at this point, it's barely.
And, in our next budget cycle, we'll look into that because we invested in new pavement here in the last 10, 15 years. So we need to make these pavements last so we can ensure it's getting this much cheaper in the long run. And so we have the HERF funding and then we can supplement with other types of funding. That's very important in order for the longevity of that pavement to be kept.
I have a question I just remembered, we have I saw that Jefferson from Somerton to Bingham, it's kind of between orange and yellow. And I know because I live right behind that and the winter, especially the lettuce fields is right there and that road gets destroyed on the winter. Do we charge something or how does that work with
No, we just requested to clean all the mud, basically.
They don't, and I know it damages, so I think we should have something in place for that. Because we're preparing over here the County 15 behind Miranda and all that. Field is right next door, they're gonna destroy, should we just tell them not to pan all the way to the street? So they can have so the tractors can turn around and it's I live back there and it's the whole month of winter, from November to April, that road is.
Exactly. No, we have some issues with them, and last season we approached them and they cleaned it. But yes, that season they get muddy, and at least they're cleaning those two segments especially, and as well Cesar Chavez. Just keep an eye on the farmers.
Any other questions? Thank you. So Caesar, tell residents to expect every 3 to 5 years to come.
Thank you.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Mr. Sam? Alicia Ayala, 597 Marshall Court. Quick question, just because my neighbors wanted an update from the letter from the last time I spoke to you. I know you did respond and thank you for the sign because he did put up our sign like that same week, I think, the sign was up. But we talked a little bit about asphalt and right now, so you touched it on it.
Just on the crack seal, we just finished the crack seal and we started the County 15 project, and because of the heat, we just stopped with the crack seal.
So after the heat?
Exactly.
Because somebody, my neighbors were asking, well, what happened with the letter? If you know what, let me find out, I'm gonna go to the meeting and, okay, so I just know what to tell them because.
The dry time of the seal is longer because of the heat. That's the reason that we implemented after passing September, October, and prior to May.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to item number 7, discussion and possible action to approve the city manager's recommendation to hire Araceli Juarez as chief of police for the city of Somerton.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, last month, the police chief review committee interviewed 3 finalists out of 16 applicants for the position of chief of police for the city of Somerton. The committee's choice was Araceli Juarez, currently the interim police chief for the city. Ms. Juarez has worked for the Somerton Police Department since 1998 and has been a Somerton resident for 27 years. As required by Section 344 of the City Code, the city manager must secure council approval for the hiring of any department head. Accordingly, the council is asked to approve the appointment of Ms. Juarez to the position of chief of police. So the recommended action is to approve the recommendation of the city manager to hire Araceli Juarez as chief of police for the city of Somerton.
Any comments, questions? Is there a motion to approve city manager's recommendation? So, motion by Vice Mayor Garcia, second by Councilmember Roldan. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations, Chief.
Want to say a few words?
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members. I didn't prepare a speech this afternoon, but I just want to say thank you for this opportunity. Two things that I have in mind to say real quick is, number one, that I strongly believe that taking care of my staff and the staff providing that community service to everybody will be one of the first things that I have in mind. And number two is to continue to protect civil rights in the community, to protect people's rights to privacy and rights to being taken into custody only when we have enough evidence. That's all I have. Thank you.
We have 3 items of executive session, so we're going to go summary of current events and then we'll go into executive session.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Mayor Anaya and I met with Gina Thompson, superintendent of the Yuma Union High School District last week. We are eagerly anticipating the 40-day and 100-day counts to see if they will trigger full school facilities board funding to accommodate complete construction of the Somerton High School as opposed to a phased-in approach. We will know more in early October and in December when those counts occur. Of course, we'll keep you posted. Vice Mayor Garcia joined City Attorney Lozano, Community Development Director Carmen Juarez, and myself for a meeting with representatives of the Yuma County Water Users Association regarding ongoing billing of some Somerton residents for water rights and the potential transfer of those rights to the city. It's a very complex issue. There are no easy solutions. Ms. Juarez will be reaching out to YCWUA to invite them to provide a presentation to council in the near future so everyone gets kind of up to speed on those issues. I've been talking with a welding instructor at Kofa High School regarding the creation of a sign to welcome visitors to our city. Much like what has been done elsewhere, the students would create a design that we would approve and perform the work while the city finances the material costs. The class is working on potential designs right now. Will get back to me in a week or so. I've also asked if they can potentially reach the target date of February 29th. That's the date of the Greater Days celebration. So if we can hit that date for the dedication, that'd be great. They're going to let me know on that. The students are excited to be working on the project, as of course many of them live in Somerton. It was a pleasure to help kick off the Tower Cup soccer tournament Friday, along with Vice Mayor Garcia, members of the Parks and Rec Commission, department staff. Saturday morning, there was a ribbon cutting for the new Great Harvest restaurant, which also was well attended, including Councilmember Gonzalez, economic development staff. This Friday at 9 a.m. is the groundbreaking ceremony for the new Cocopa convenience store right across from the casino entrance. And finally, a reminder to the council and department directors, we have the retreat coming up this weekend, kicking off Friday night at 6 p.m. at the Wild River Family Entertainment Center, and then Saturday the 7th from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Regional Center for Border Health. The agenda will go out shortly. Before I hand it off, Sarina is ill tonight, so she won't be here, but I will hand it over to who wants to go. Sam. Thank you.
Mayor and City Council, just 2 updates. On the sewer force main project, our contractor continues installing pipe along Garmin. They already reached the Somerton Avenue on the east side, and the segment pending is basically on the west side from the Alborada to the wastewater treatment plant manifold. And also on the County 15 pathway project, our street crew did the first concrete work last week. So that project is moving forward. All the electrical underground has been completed. Thank you.
Can I beat you real quick before Diane takes on? Mayor and Vice Mayor, just two things real quick to tell you, and I'm going to take advantage and take Mr. Tapia's time because I want to take advantage that Diana Humphreys, Director for Amberley's Place, is here today. I want to tell you a little bit about our homicide case is over. As you know, there was a conviction already for 5 counts on the homicide that we had in 2018, and I just want to thank publicly the people that made it possible for us to be able to diligently work throughout that night. And one of the team members or one of the departments that helped us that night was Amberley's Place. Amberley's Place was out there with us probably till 4 in the morning assisting the victims. We also had Border Patrol that assisted us through this entire investigation, the Yuma Police Department, the Yuma County Sheriff's Office, and lastly, we had, through the testimony, the cooperation of the Somerton Cocoa Fire Department, we were able to secure a conviction. So I want to publicly announce that, and thank you, Diane, because I know that I always have your support in everything that we do at the police department, and your advocates are always willing to come out at any time we call them to come and assist us, and we appreciate that a lot. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Mayor and Council, just a couple of updates. As you had mentioned, we have a couple new restaurants in town, so you can do breakfast, lunch, and one of those in dinner also. The Rosa Blanca is a new restaurant, all included inside the San Miguel de Allende location. It used to be Casa Gloria. They're going to be open from 7 to 2 p.m. during Monday to Fridays. And on Saturday, it's going to be open from 7 to noon, and Sunday, 7 to 2 p.m. That will be a restaurant inside the location. They also do special events, like quinceañeras, weddings, and birthday parties. So we're trying to help in this kind of business to promote. And Vanessa has been doing social media for the new restaurants. As he had mentioned, we had the grand opening on Saturday, and that one's going to be open tomorrow. Tomorrow morning will be 7 a.m. So we have a couple places that you can go for breakfast or also lunch time. Last week we have a couple conference calls with the, as you recall, the Sustainability Partners SP, Rick Gibson. He provided to us more information about the potential investment in Somerton to develop the infrastructure. There's only one option up there. It's not an option that we're looking into, but that's something that a company is ready to help the city to install new sewer lines or other type of infrastructure. But like I mentioned before, it's only an option. If in case it's needed, this company is ready to assist the city. The opportunity zones, as you remember, is becoming a little more, some companies are becoming more aggressive. They're looking for sites in this area. So right now, I'm working to develop a package for a couple companies that are looking into this area. It's still confidential, but I mean, they're bigger companies that they're looking into opportunity zone. So Somerton has one of the best, I think, in the area, because we have not only the location geographically, but also we need to move quickly for the infrastructure. The city can do it, or the investor can also do it through the opportunity zone funds. So I'm working with a couple companies that they're really interested in coming to Somerton, so hopefully that happens. Thank you.
Mayor and Council, staff is working on a lot split application. This lot split is going to take place up on the Mesa, Avenue B in County 16th Street. This is for the future Somerton Cemetery. We have been working with the the owner of the funeral home. They have acreage in the back, and they are interested, as you may recall, some of you were through the process to do some rezoning and some processes in order to put this, approve this cemetery. We're still reviewing some of the submittals that they have. They have submitted for the lot split. We review them and send comments. The first set of comments, we are waiting for the response for the resubmittal, so we are working on that. Also in the same area, we have just initiated a rezoning process. This is also on the County 50 Avenue B and County 16th Street on the south side now. This proposed rezoning is from agriculture to light industrial, and this, if approved by council, will eventually bring construction of a 50,000 square feet distribution center, retail distribution. So there is development moving up on that side of town, up on the mesa, how we call it. And one of the main things that we have is the water connection. It's right there, so we are working with the developers in that area to work and bring that line, the water system, to them. Last but not least, we are also, again, for this year, we are inviting the residents to submit letters of interest if they want to be part of the Planning and Zoning Commission. We have 3 seats up for reappointment this year. This is a yearly request. We have 3 seats 1 year this year, and we are going to have 4 seats up for reappointment next year. So we have an open invitation to the residents to be part of the Planning and Zoning Commission. If they have any questions, they can call our department, Community Development, or if they want to submit a letter of interest, they can do it too, with attention to the mayor, and we are going to be presenting those letter of interest in the near future for council to appoint new commissioners. That's all I have. Thank you.
Well, good night, Mayor, Council, attendees. Jesus Meza, Parks and Recreation Director. We're basically got started with registrations today for the girls' fast pitch baseball and t-ball. Registrations are out. We posted them up on Facebook today. It's going to be a month long, basically, of registrations. It's flat fee for $45. Ages range, T-ball it's 3 to 6, and the other 2 activities it's 7+. So besides that, we are on the planning phase, which is well underway for the haunted house, set for October 31st. Also the binational mayor's bicycle ride is well underway. The planning with Angelica, Vanessa helping out with the haunted house. So it's pretty much ready to go. And we're gonna sooner than later, we're gonna start with a rib cook-off event for January. So this is basically what we have going on. And just to get it out there, Friday is the last day to apply for the recreation supervisor position. It's available. It's a great job here in the community. It's a great way to have an impact on sports and recreation. So if anybody knows of someone, feel free to apply. And it's going to be open until filled if we don't have enough candidates.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Council. Many times when a violent crime occurs, our people respond alongside of police, and one of the things that affects the firefighters a lot is when they never see the person prosecuted. Both times that there's been a murder in this town, Araceli's been involved, and both times those people have gone to prison. And it has a real positive effect on the firefighters because they feel like, for once, the good guys, get ahead. And so I wanted to publicly congratulate the chief because both times there's been murders in this town. It's been through her detective work previously, and now as interim chief and a lieutenant previously, that this conviction was possible. It happened really, really quickly. So I think it's important for the public to know that this isn't her first time. She's a proven leader. Also, we had the fatality accident. I don't know if everybody's aware of that. We had the dual fatality accident. That was, we believe, a possible human smuggling attempt and a motorcycle crossing 17th and across 95 and getting struck, and then multiple vehicles successively hitting these people. We had a critical incident stress management meeting for two of our newer people that were a little bit traumatized by it. They're doing well. It's just something that goes along with the job that we do. September is a month that FEMA opens their assistance to firefighter grants, and so we'll be preparing a grant for that, and of course we'll be coming to council to ask for approval for our portion of that grant, which normally is 10% of the grant. And we're going to be putting in for all new gear for our people and a second set of gear for all our people. And the reason is, about 3 years ago, a white paper came out on cancer and firefighters, and it came out proving with statistical data that firefighters are 66 more likely to get cancer than the regular population. And it has to do with the gear that we use. For years we've used the same gear. For years we've taken pride in how dirty our gear is. Well, we've learned that no, you don't do that. You wash your gear. But when you wash your gear, you can't put it back on. So you need a second set of gear. So we're going to use that white paper as our basis for the application process that we're going to be putting in to get that new gear for our people. And hopefully we'll be the second department, because MCS is currently already doing that, to have 2 sets of gear for their firefighters so that they can do it and they can avoid contact with carcinogens. That's all I have. Thank you.
That's it, Mr. Mayor.
I just want to say that, like I mentioned earlier, someone was attended the Arizona League of Cities, and I attended a work session. It's called Border Myth and Facts, and they talked about realities of life and the borders and governance and business on the border. And we were very well represented by Mayor Nichols. He spoke very highly about our community and how, him being part of the League of Executive Committee for is a human treasure for the committee. He was able to express his concerns and everything that's going on within our borders. So, like I say, I congratulate him afterwards, and I brought it to the mayor's attention that we were very well represented as a Yuma County.
Vice Mayor Garcia.
I don't know if you were gonna have an answer right now, but an update on the senior center, the senior trip. Is that gonna take place?
Yeah,
Do
we're
we have
gonna
enough
do
money?
tomorrow at 7 a.m. Yeah, there's section. Good part.
Thank you, and if you get an update on the construction issue. I do want to mention, Carmen can correct me if I'm off, there was a census meeting last week. We found out that there's going to be a few mailers between now and February, and South County, because our communities, the majority have received mail through PO boxes, we will not be receiving those mailers. We'll only be receiving door hangers in February. So that was a concern to a lot of South County committee members. So there's going to be a meeting on September 13th at 11:30 at the community development.
It's at the Yuma County.
Yeah, Yuma County on Avenue B, right? So if you guys are able to attend, I'm, council, so we can voice our concerns. Our population for, the agriculture residents, our snowbirds, we want to have those people counted, and so our city can receive the funding that is needed. And I think those reminders, there's going to be about 5 between now and February, so I think we should be missing out on those reminders, especially to that targeted population. So if you guys have an opportunity, I will be there, but anybody else can come to September 13th at 11:30.
Chief Juarez, welcome to the
team as a chief now. Yeah, I think we made a good decision as an intern, and we're looking forward to see you as a chief.
Thank you.
A good citizen and a good person, I think that all helps out in becoming.
Thank you.
So congratulations and continue doing a good job.
And congratulations, Chief.
Thank you.
Also, as Ian said, we met with Gina Thompson. We met in high school. She's gonna be coming at least once a month to our meetings. Just we had a good conversation, and Ian touched on our update. Also, thank the vice mayor for taking the lead on the water users situation. Hopefully, something positive that comes to the residents that are having that issue. I've been mentioning it, all since I started as mayor, and I hope that for next League of Cities, we have more participation from council, because it's a very good conference. That's probably for council members, at least education wise and networking wise, is very good. We met with the sustainability partners, and as council members, that's one of the toughest things that we need to do, is decide where our funding goes. And I went to a session on bonding and how to bond. We're looking at the park, we're looking at new infrastructure. There's that other option of sustainability partners, and it's very important, and that's something that you don't get here in the meetings. You're thinking of other stuff, and you feel rushed. So there you can sit down for an hour and a half, and actually meet with the people. And it's very important for our education, and we owe it to our citizens to try to make an effort to go. I understand that sometimes we can't, but we've had low participation this last couple of years, and so we need to make an effort to go there. I also attended one for the opportunity zones. Somerton in Yuma County we are an opportunity zone, and it's important for us to understand and also to help staff, because we're a team here, and we need to be able to work together, because we need to be informed, because we're the ones making the decisions, and I think hopefully for next year we have more participation on League of Cities. Like I said, maybe not every year, and I understand it's not possible, but League of Cities, they were very good sessions, and we left hoping that more council members would go, because here there's some tough decisions that we need to make, and we need to be as informed as possible. With that, is there a motion to adjourn into executive session? So motion by Vice Mayor Garcia. Second by Councilman Gonzalez. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll take a 5-minute break.